the topics that we are going to cover in this evaluation. Number one, the first thing that we covered during this month was again article omission. When it's necessary to use that, when it's not necessary to use that, and when we omit it in English, very different from Spanish. In Spanish, sometimes we use articles all the time, but in English there are some exceptions where it's not necessary. That's a very important ability for the B2 certificate. So we need to master this slide technical. This is the one that we are going to master. Okay. I need to do some formatting on the slide. So just give me one night to fix it, and then I can pass it to you with form. Well, because there are some colors that don't match, and I have, for example, these white letters that they don't look really well. So just give me one day to cover all this, and I can pass it to you so you can study it. That's the first topic. The second topic that we covered was, where's the second one? Oh, of course, new verbs, right? All the new verbs that we covered during the second week, and the difference between a verb and an adjective that sound very similar, but they are actually not. So for the evaluation, I need you to use these verbs correctly. You are going to do some exams. You are going to detect if you are using a verb or an adjective. You're going to use like different strategies to understand which is the word, the most appropriate word according to the context. Okay. Together with this, we started checking forming verbs. And this topic was covered with the introduction to suffixes and prefixes. A suffix is a syllable that ends a word that if you add a suffix, it changes the definition of a word. It can be, you can transform it from a noun to a verb, or you can transform an adjective to a verb if you remove the last syllable. So it's very important to know how to transform words between them. They sound very similar, which makes it confusing for many people. So it's very necessary to understand the difference to one another. And talking about suffixes, we started doing a review. We did a review on verbs, articles, corresponding adjectives, adverbs, which is going to be super important in the writing section of the exam. I suggest you start using these abilities, the chat GPT abilities that we checked on class, you know, to modify the way you speak, to copy how an American person speaks. This section is very important for the writing. And structures, how to use passive voice and how to use when it's necessary to use the connector to, when it's not necessary to use the connector to, right? That's technically the classes that we have been checking under these days, right? Following the same structure and following the same stuff, we are going to now practice with the last topic and the last video. We are going to do a listening practice on Thursday before the test. So let's get together with vocabulary. Let me show you. Let me vocabulary that I just just a second. Oh, this I made a notification. Hey Mitch, can you hear us?
Yes, teacher.
Hey, good night.
Hey, good night.
So you are going to use. Okay, let me show you the video that we are going to study. During this Okay, let's talk about the following topic. You are going to watch a new video and you're going to tell me what you understood. Okay, this video is titled Why the US Drinking Age is 21, which is actually a very interesting topic, why this is different in the United States than in Mexico. The US drinking age. What is the Mexican drinking age? Do you know?
18.
Perfect. So you understand the expression drinking age, right? In this case, the word drinking and the adjective drinking is describing the age that you need to drink. So technically, this ing is working as a word of purpose, right? An adjective of purpose that we are going to talk about in the next classes, right? Verbs that need ing as an adjective. As the parallel says, in Mexico, the legal drinking age is 18, which is fantastic for many American people because they have to wait 2 more years to 3 more years to actually drink, you know? Let's watch this video and tell me what you understand. 1, 2, 3, action.
Michael, welcome to the White House.
This is the 40th President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan, and Michael Joseph Jackson. 1984, Michael Jackson.
For Michael Jackson brings a thrill a minute to his millions of fans.
We have quite a few young folks in the White House who all wanted me to give you the same message. They said to tell Michael, please give some TLC to the PYTs.
So this is not just a footnote in history. It actually connects, in a weird way, to the reason that you have to be 21 in every state in the United States to buy alcohol. I'll show you. States determine their own minimum legal drinking ages. And in 1975, they looked like this. All these blue states are at 18. All these green ones are 19. Delaware is yellow, alone at 20. These orange ones are 21, but with allowances for lower alcohol levels in stuff like beer and wine. And these red ones are the 21 and older states. It's a complicated map. Now look at the map today. It's all 21. How did that change happen? This story takes you to a political crossroads and the Supreme Court, and in a weird way to Michael Jackson shaking hands next to the president while dressed like this. But the drinking age change is ultimately a story about roads. Prohibition, the 18th Amendment to the US Constitution, banned alcohol in 1920. It was repealed by the 21st Amendment, and after that, a lot of states settled on a drinking age of 21 and older. See the red here in the late 60s? Those are all 21 and older states. In the 70s, the 26th Amendment changed the dynamic again.
That amendment, as you know, provides for the right to vote of all of our young people between 18 and 21. 11 million new voters as a result of this amendment.
18-year-olds could be drafted to Vietnam and vote, so a lot of states decided they could drink. But that map was short-lived for one reason.
And here comes the president.
Nearly 50,000 people were killed on our highways last year. Now, out of this statistic comes an even more chilling one. Drunk drivers were involved in 25,000 of those fatalities, in addition to 750,000 injuries a year.
Drinking age reform advocates quickly attributed drunk driving fatalities in the blue states, or 18 and older states, to earlier drinking ages. People also argued that teens driving across state lines to drink or purchase alcohol increased drunk driving. This 1983 map was still a hodgepodge, but see how more states turned green for 19 and yellow for 20 years old? That was driven partly by an awareness campaign.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Michael Jackson, he was being honored for letting his music be used in anti-drunk driving PSAs.
You're as good as dead.
But tactics weren't limited to PR. President Reagan is famous for saying,
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help."
that made his strategy kind of surprising.
For even though drunk driving is a problem nationwide, it can be solved only at the state and local level. Yet the federal government also has a role to play.
His thinking was influenced by 2 main groups.
Much of the credit for focusing public attention goes to the grassroots campaign of organizations like MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, and RID, Remove Intoxicated Drivers.
Candace "Candy" Lightner founded MAD in 1980 after her daughter Carrie was killed by a drunk driver. MAD's goals at the time included making it easier to obtain DUI convictions and raising the drinking age. This direction was clear at Riverdale High School in Oradell, New Jersey, where President Reagan explained his unpredictable political evolution. The problem?
I appointed a presidential commission on drunk driving. They told us that alcohol-related automobile accidents are the leading cause of teenage deaths in this country.
The theory.
In states in which the drinking age has been raised, teenage driving fatalities have gone down significantly. Here in New Jersey, you raised the drinking age to 21 in 1983. And you know what happened. You had a 26% reduction in nighttime single vehicle fatalities among 19 and 20-year-olds in the first year alone.
The dilemma.
I was delighted again because I hope that the states would, as they should, take this action themselves without federal orders or interference. It has led to a kind of crazy quilt of different state drinking laws, and that's led to what's been called blood borders, with teenagers leaving their homes to go to the nearest state with a lower drinking age.
And here, this is where the roads come in. The Interstate Highway Act of 1956 created a network of roads largely funded by federal dollars. These roads quickly became crucial to state economies. That money also became a way to bend the states to federal priorities, even if it meant Reagan had to change his typical political positions.
I've decided to support legislation to withhold 5% of a state's highway funds if it does not enact the 21-year-old drinking age. Now, some may feel that my decision is at odds with my philosophical viewpoint that state problems should involve state solutions, and it isn't up to a big and overwhelming government in Washington to tell the states what to do. And you're partly right. Beyond that, there are some special cases in which overwhelming need can be dealt with by prudent and limited federal action.
The law passed. That's Candy Lightner, celebrating.
I'd like to make you an honorary mother against drunk drivers.
It wasn't technically a nationwide drinking age law, but in effect, it was.
We have no misgiving about this judicious use of federal power.
States quickly adopted the 21-year-old drinking age. Most couldn't afford to lose federal funding for their highways. Louisiana was the only state that held out at age 18 due to a loophole which it closed in the mid-90s. South Dakota challenged the law to preserve sale of low-alcohol beer for 19-year-olds and up, and it reached the Supreme Court.
Then you may proceed whenever you're ready.
Mr. Chief Justice, and may it please the court. The issue in this case is whether or not Congress may condition the receipt of highway funds upon a state having in effect a 21-year-old drinking age.
The court ruled 7-2, stating it was within Congress's powers to control spending that promoted general welfare, argued as the reduction of youth drinking and driving via the 21-year-old drinking age. Did it work? Most studies of studies declare case closed, that the higher drinking age saves lives and reduces alcohol consumption. Skeptics, like people from the Libertarian Cato Institute, claim a broader cultural change, not a law, should be credited with saving lives. Reagan himself kind of argued both sides, saying that
the new minimum drinking age is working.
But that,
my friends, there's so much more to do, and it's not government that can do it.
Politically, Ronald Reagan using federal purse strings to strong-arm states is a strange pairing. But beyond the politics, there's a bigger message. The federal government has used other levers to push states, but to change the drinking age, there was one big tool. The thing that changed the country wasn't just the lines on states' edges. It was the ones that run through them.
Yeah, too much information, right? That's pretty interesting. Let's talk about what you understood. Let's begin with Elsie. What did you understand on the video? I'm going to take note of everything you say.
Oh, teacher, I lost a lot of information.
Okay, why? Because of
Uh,
problems?
I think that it was too much for me.
It was too much for me. I'm
Um,
actually, don't worry, I'm actually thinking on using just a 2 videos per month. You know, instead of using 4, we're gonna go down to 2. I hope you know that. But don't worry. Tell me what you understood this time.
I understood that in the beginning, the drinking age were different for every state. Well, some states, and then they know that they knew, sorry, that there were a lot of fatalities.
Okay, the word in English is called casualties.
Casualties. Yes, a lot of casualties. And also that the teenagers that live in the state, for example, with 21 drinking age, move to another state that have had a lower drinking age, and it's all teachers.
What did this cause?
Accidents, more accidents.
Open idea. Give me a full sentence.
This situation caused more casualties. Casualties.
With conviction, casualties.
This situation caused more casualties.
That's it.
That's it, teacher.
That's okay. That's okay. You're doing well. You're doing well. Okay, very good. So the rest of the rest of the information, like from Michael Jackson and the problem or the solution to the issue, you didn't get any of that
I don't get the idea with Michael Jackson, and at the last part, maybe I understood that the government pressure to the states that have a lower drinking age we didn't give funds to them, but I'm not sure.
You are actually correct. You understood that very, very well. Precisely the part of when they were talking about the Senate and they were talking about the debate of the Constitution and the funds for the highways, it was actually pressure to make a better drinking age to avoid teenagers dying on the roads. Precisely. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. You understood very well. So you need to use your conviction because you were actually right. So anyway, I'm gonna pass you the video for you to watch it again, for you to study it. Meanwhile, let's pass to the next. Okay, let's go through Mitch. What did you understand, Mitch?
Hmm. Mm, mm, I understand. Most of Elsie understands how the drinking age has changed over the years and in all the states. That they have many accidents, like 50,000 accidents around, and I don't remember the exact number, but I guess it's 28,000 caused by a drinking person. So when they found the cause, the government tried to use the very influenced people to approach to the youngest people and create awareness about drinking in the, or most of it to drive when you are drunk. So what else? And President Reagan, he was influenced by I remember just the Mom Against Drunk Drivers.
Correct.
These associations, the main point of this association was to make awareness about those accidents can happen when you drink and drive at the same time, or when you drive where you are drunk. And they approached the president to solve this problem. And I remember I don't remember the other association. I guess it was a RID. I don't remember very well, but those two associations were in pro of the level to the age to drink. I understand that.
Interesting. That's the interesting part. This you understood really well. The talking part is the one that I need to find a way to make you like copy words the way you listen to them directly to your speech, because you are explaining the idea. It's kind of difficult to understand it, but I understand it because I know what you are trying to say. You are thinking like Spanish and then transform it to English. There's a lesson that I want to talk about in that moment about some phrases that you said, but let me just give a moment to your partners, okay? So let's go now with Berlita. Perla, tell me what you understood.
Okay, so I understand that one of the problems in USA was like they had different age, different drinking age in the States. So the people went to the closed state where they can drink when they were older. So in that moment, and they were driving and drinking. So the problem was that the accident. So the government want to have a solution. So the solution was like, okay, we need to change the drinking age. So little by little, they start to change the drinking age for the states. And I remember the only Louisiana was the place where you can drink at when you have 10, I think. Yeah. Yeah, I think was the most important for me.
Sure. That's the part that I need to check. What part was important for you? What part do you remember really, really well? And then we can explain it. Well, that sounds pretty good. Carlita, what did you understand?
Um, I understood a little, teacher, specifically how can change the drinking age with the government's like a different statistics in order to put the right age to drink, no? After, I'm not sure, but they comment about to I don't know to say if it's okay associations or not, but was leadered with a women that comment or to the main idea, sorry, was to promote the increase the drinking age. I think is this teacher in this moment that I can get.
I was thinking some important about them.
Yes.
Very good. Okay. So we have all this information. You actually understood some of the most relevant information in the video. There were some things about how some roads were actually connecting two states that have different drinking ages, and due to this, some teenagers with cars would travel to these other states so they could actually buy alcohol. So it was actually um the only reason they used the car and they started to travel was in order to buy alcohol. Imagine how dangerous is this to actually travel to other place, buy alcohol, get drunk, and then drive back home. That makes sense. Makes sense why many teenagers have all these issues. Now, nobody spoke about Michael Jackson, which is pretty interesting. Like nobody understood the relation between Michael Jackson and this situation, which is something that we are going to study in the questions. Okay, why Michael Jackson was mentioned in this video talking about teenagers and the 1980s. Okay, so that's gonna be for next Thursday. But yes, the part of traveling was the reason why teenagers were drinking. That's part one. Part two, something that some of you mentioned, was also talking about the associations that two groups of people actually made, which was Mothers Against Drinking and Get Rid of Something Else, the other one, the RIT, the red. And these two associations were actually pressuring the government to increase the drinking age. So well, many of you actually mentioned that. That was also really news. And the last one, the last part that we had to understand and nobody spoke about was what was the dilemma and what was the solution? What actually happened to solve this issue? One of you actually talked about how Ronald Reagan, the president, pressured the states to change their law. How did they pressure the states? With money. That's the way politics work. If you don't raise your drinking age, I will not give you money for highways and roads. So that was actually something that motivated states to grow to 21 years old, right? So technically, that was the important part about these topics: the drinking age, how politics affected and changed during that era, and you understood pretty much most of the information. So I'm gonna give you a challenge for this Thursday, right? Let me when we finish the class, I'm going to pass you the corresponding vocabulary. Well, no, let's do it right now. I have it right here. Where is so this is it. Here's your vocabulary for this week's video. Pass it to you so you can study your vocab. The video that corresponds to this vocabulary is this vocabulary. Pass you the link so you can have. Now, let's talk about this interesting way to talk in English, okay? There were some phrases that actually raised my because when we are talking about drinking age, for example, let's talk about the expression drinking. If we think in Spanish and we translate the expression talk about drinking in the United States. The legal drinking age is 21. Think about this sentence for a minute in Spanish. And you are going to translate this into Spanish. That will be la edad de How would you translate this in Spanish? I'm not sure. No. La edad mínima, ¿no? Para. Ajá. A ver. Translate this into Spanish. I'm confused. What words do we use in Spanish for this?
Para tomar alcohol.
Para tomar alcohol, right?
Ujú.
Is that it? We don't have another like official word for this? All right. It's only that. Yeah, I think it's the last one. Well, that's actually pretty interesting because we don't have a legal terminology for this, right? Let me search. Ese también consentimiento. Okay, yeah, no, the word is it. Okay, anyway. So that can affect the way we understand English, the way we talk in English, because translating this section directly into English would go very differently. A direct translation would be like the minimum age 2, in many cases, many people say 4, drink or drinking alcohol, which is actually a massive cultural difference. In English, when you say drinking, automatically you understand you're talking about alcohol. You don't need to use the word alcohol. That's the first cultural difference. The second cultural difference is how the position of words is affecting the structure. The word drinking age in this case is something called a noun phrase. Legal drinking age. Let's understand. The legal drinking age. This phrase is phrase. A group conformed by an article followed by an adjective followed by an ing word that is actually derived from a verb, and then a noun. Okay? This sequence of colors repeats in English a lot. We have a lot of sequences that start with orange adjectives and then end nouns. This sequence is called a noun phrase. A noun phrase is, as we said in other classes, a phrase or a group of words that together comprise a noun. And this phrase can exist in many parts of the sentence. It can go at the subject or the complement sentence. It can go in different locations. I don't want to talk a lot about noun phrases in this moment, but I want to talk about how the ing part exists a lot in English, and I'm going to show you some examples. But first, let me talk with Jessie because Jessie is in it. Hello, yes, good.
Hello, teacher. Good night. Hello, girls. With the attendance, please. Is here Elsie? Hi, Elsie. Good night.
Hello, Jessie, good night.
Thank you, Lucy. Good night. Denise. Hi, Denise. Good night.
Hello, Jessie. Good night.
Good night, Denise. Thank you. And Mish. Hi, Mish. Good night.
Hello, yes, good night.
Thank you, Mish. And Perla. Hi, Perla. Good
Hi,
night.
yes, night.
Thank you. So, thank you, everyone. Good night and see you tomorrow. Bye, teacher. Bye,
Thank you very
guys.
much, Aledi.
See you. You're welcome.
Perfect. So let's see what happens with noun phrases and ing. If you see, for example, let's use some terminologies in English. For example, I'm going to show you an article of news. Let's talk about well, this is a website where you can read news in English. Okay? This is actually written by English talking people. And let's understand this. Mexico's corn imports are on track to break annual record. Let's read some of these sentences. Mexico's imports of corn, mostly from the US, are on the track to break their annual record, potentially reaching 17.9 million metric tons by the end of the year, according to expert estimates. This, of course, have been growing demand. Growing demand. This is one example that we are talking about. The word growing comes from a verb, which is grow. But in this case, it's an orange word. It's actually an adjective describing the demand. If we think in Spanish, we're going to say una demanda creciente, which in English would switch. Similar as when you say el carro rojo. How do you translate el carro rojo in English?
Red car.
The red car. So we switch the words. It's not the car red, right? We switch them. Well, if we have the word creciente, it's not going to be crescent, right? There's a word for this, and it's the word grow in ing form in the position of an adjective. A growing demand. Let's find another example. Propelled by increased use of corn as livestock feed, Mexico's imports of corn peaked metric tons according to a Cities Agricultural Consulting Group, GCMA. Again, we have the word consult, transformed as an adjective, consulting. Before a noun, consulting. We are describing the type using an ing word. This pattern exists with ing words and also with past participle words. For example, the increased use of corn. In this case, is not using ing. We are using the past participle of increase. We are using a verb transformed to an adjective before the noun. Are we understanding the switch here? Or do you have questions of what's the topic?
No, I didn't understand.
You didn't understand anything. Okay, where did you
No,
get lost?
this part with when you use the ed.
Okay. Similar to the other one. It's actually very similar to this. In this case, the verb drink is not a verb. Okay? It's actually an adjective, a description. But we are not saying the age of drinking, right? The age of drinking is actually a Spanglish, because we're saying la edad de tomar, right? In English would be the drinking age. The same happens in priests. We don't say el uso aumentado, right? The used increased.
So here, yeah, sorry, but here will be the same like with the suffix. Like you need to put the end of the word that sounds good.
And
Yeah.
it's not just the end of the word, it sounds good. The word increasing.
For me, like
Exactly. No, yes, in this case it's different. In this case is increasing exists and increased exists. Which one are you going to use? So we need to understand what's the difference between the ing and the ed in the meaning. Both are different and they are not in the dictionary. This is the most important part for us. This use of verbs doesn't exist in the dictionary. So we need to do some practices in order to use these words in a correct way. Okay. One of the best examples is drinking age. There are so many, and you can actually search any article. It doesn't matter where, you can actually find a lot of examples. So that's what we're going to do tomorrow. Tomorrow, we are going to analyze these examples in order to try to extract them and use them in different contexts. Okay. What about the rest, girls? Do you have any questions on this topic? Of course, I know I opened the question, right? Tomorrow we can explain more, but did you understand what I'm trying to say?
For my young teacher, I have a doubt about how can identify when ing end of the word it's to refer to the noun, if not like the exercise. For example, drinking age. I am not sure how another examples there are. No, because I confuse in this part. So tomorrow I will to have a more. Will have more examples.
Yeah, definitely. We need to see like other examples because we are not aware of these positioning of words. We never pay attention to these positioning of words because that's completely away from our language. In Spanish, we don't have ings and eds, so we never see this. That's the reason it doesn't even. It's so native that even the dictionary doesn't have. It's about intuition and it's about understanding where to put it. But with examples, it's going to be much better. Now, super important that what Carla is mentioning, we need to understand the difference between ing and ed to pass with this, right? If we still have problems with that, we are not going to understand the rest. So let me know if you still have issues with that so we can read it. Okay. In the case of Mitch, you were gonna say something. You're very close to say something, Mitch.
I guess if we will tomorrow, sorry, if we will see other examples.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Yeah, I get it much clearer. but I tried to understand and I found some of the words, but I don't know if I am right only in this article. And I want to explore more words
Awesome.
and uses.
And you will see that they are actually words that you know. It's just a different combination. But they are words that you have in mind already. So yes, definitely. We're going to see more examples. Don't worry about that. That's going to be the mission. Let's keep it for tomorrow. And right now, let's go to our list. Got it?
Okay. Thank you, teacher.
Okay,
Very good
teacher.
job,
Thank
girls.
you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Have a wonderful night. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, you too. All right.